Hi everyone, welcome to Your Value. So today we're looking at Humacyte. The stock is at $5.29, a good rise of 17% today, which is pretty good, having traded in the mid fours for the last few days. And I think a lot of shareholders are kind of having a little bit of doubt and feeling a bit pessimism. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to give the stock time. I bet if there's a positive announcement, those shorts are going to be running for their life, because there's so many people shorting the stock. It's not even funny. What is it, 20 million shares short, which is a crazy amount of shares to be shorting for a stock that just got FDA approval. You'd think good things were coming. Instead, people are shorting the stock, which is a crazy thing to happen for the company. But they're obviously just riding the momentum to push it down, but I don't think they'll be able to push it down for too much longer. I think the minute positive news comes out, then the stock really starts flying, particularly with shorts running for their life. If not, shorts are kind of trying to get out now, because they're realizing there's no more negativity that they can sell that's going to keep pushing the stock down. This is as much as it goes down. So they are going to have to recover, and the stock price is going to continue to build momentum, especially as news kind of seeps out around the stock and people do actually proper research into the company and its potential that really is going to come out. So stock price is a work in progress. Obviously it could be higher. So today I wanted to make a video on the analyst ratings. Obviously analyst ratings can be taken with a grain of salt. I myself try not to look at many ratings, because I don't think they're that reliable in general. But sometimes when the stock price isn't performing or stuff like that, you kind of go am I doubting myself? Do I need a second opinion? And sometimes those ratings can act like a second opinion when you just want a second opinion. After approval came out, we had HC Wainwright, and they upgraded their price target from $12 to $15. So not only did they $12 is pretty ambitious already, particularly for a stock that's trading at $5.29 right now. They upgraded the stock in terms of its pricing from 12 to 15. And then you had Bora Capital, which already had a really high stock price of $25, and basically they just reaffirmed at $25. $25 is pretty high to begin with, so that's a lot of confidence. So after the FDA approval, same day on the 20th, they reconfirmed that. And then we had Benchmark on the 23rd of December. They increased from $15 to $17. So you kind of look at these analysts, and those three looked at it, and they all were pretty positive about the announcement. Obviously there is the Seeking Alpha article, which is so broad and misleading. If you didn't know that much about the company in some sense, you would be misled by this guy, because I could go through the whole article and we could kind of just sort through things out. But firstly, you got to look at this guy and you go, Humacyte got an approval for their product, which they call Symvess. And not only does he just go into it with half the article, just kind of mentioning some of the bad points and then trying to diminish the market size. He also goes on about other parts of the business that isn't as relevant at the moment. So firstly, we'll go with Symvess first, which is the ATF, which was for trauma. Especially if you're pointing out this part here. So he's going with a few thousand vascular arterial injuries per year, whereas Humacyte kind of sees the opportunity to be around about 26,000 per year, and they have better insight than this guy would. So you've got Humacyte, who works with all the centres, and their estimate's about 26,000, whereas his estimate's about a few thousand. So you can see that's a clear difference. This guy's kind of minimizing the numbers, and Humacyte has been very, very clear that they're going to sell their product for over 20,000. They kind of reference around 25,000, but obviously that's not concrete pricing. But this guy is just going like 10 to 20,000, so he's kind of like drawing things back. So that's why I kind of find this article really misleading, because it's not that he's necessarily wrong, but he kind of just like pulls things back so that it's really misleading. Like, we can't say he's wrong entirely, because maybe the pricing won't be over 20,000, who knows. But, you know, to draw it back to 10,000 is kind of really kind of drawing it back. And then he goes on to the dialysis, which, if you just looked at the normal dialysis results, then obviously it doesn't look great. But Humacyte has talked about this before. Their dialysis kind of data, if they split it apart, it's actually very, very strong when it comes to women and people with obesity, or obese people, however you want to put it. And basically, those kind of groups need it. So there's not really another alternative, because you have, the other kind of alternatives that you can compare it with. But there are certain groups that they don't actually have those veins for you to, get for certain, situations. So, you got to look at that, and you got to go, actually, it is very useful. And also, going back to Simvest, like, you're looking at a thing, people going, like, all these side effects I mentioned, say, like, the potential for blood clots, like, that can be fixed with aspirin, like pills. But you try to convince someone, hey, would you rather choose a higher risk of amputation, or a potential risk, which is shown in the studies as not being that high of a risk, that you might have a blood clot, but you can take medication for it, which would you choose? Like, it's clearly, like, people are going to want to avoid amputation. Like, amputation is the worst part about it, and you're going to give people that choice. And obviously the FDA included some of these as warnings, which I guess some shareholders won't be happy with. Like, the FDA wrote, certain warnings into it, that, some investors aren't feeling very happy about. But at the end of the day, like, you're benchmarking those side effects of amputation. Like, there is no argument what people would prefer. Like, if they have insurance, they're going with the option where the amputation rate is reduced significantly. So I don't even think it's a debate when it comes to a sort of question where it goes, that or that, So, like, it's clear benefit, which this article doesn't go into. It's very vague in the benefits. Like, it's saying, it's sort of good for this, but it's really bad for this. And then we've got these numbers and these numbers, and then it's just really blurry, really misleading. And this guy goes with a rating downgrade. So, like, I read this article and I just felt it was very, very misleading. Obviously I haven't read what these guys have done in terms of their research, but you've got 3 analysts that are that have been researching this company for quite a bit, and have actually increased their ratings, even though the price target was already quite high to begin with. Like I kind of see it like in their price target, obviously, but they could have chose to reaffirm, so like they could have just reaffirmed $12 or that $15, but they chose to increase their price target, which, you know, obviously shows quite a lot of confidence. And I think next year things are going to look positive. So we're kind of looking at a situation where obviously the stock price isn't where we want it to be, but I think we're also in a situation of limbo where we're wanting to hear a bit more from the company, but the company obviously doesn't have as much to say that they haven't said in the kind of approval announcement. They've already released a Symvess website, so things are getting a move on. They've got a lot to talk to the FDA, so over the next 6 weeks they've got a lot to do anyway. And once we hear from them, I think it will be, you know, a lot more informative, and I think the market's going to feel more confident once they get kind of like more views from management. But at the moment, I guess there's not that much to talk about. Management, firstly, they have to get things on the road. They have to get this labelling sorted over this next 6 weeks, or get it done before 6 weeks, get sales on the road, because their financials are kind of, you know, tight. So if they can get more sales, then they'll have to raise less money, because if they can get those sales, then obviously they can start being self-sustainable and funding themselves through their own revenues, which will be pretty awesome. So like, I just want to mention, like, their sales, you gotta think about it in a very different aspect. So firstly, hospitals are going to want to have it in their inventory first, so those are already sales. And then you've got like the Department of Defense, which is very, very interested. They were early funders of this company, so they will potentially be someone that also is buying for like, say, overseas purposes. Like, they could be buying to send to Ukraine or Israel, you know, like, or, you know, who knows where they'll be sending it to. So there's a lot of sales that a lot of people aren't actually thinking about in terms of how the sales process works. So it's not going to be like, oh, there's an injury, we better start ordering it today. No, like there'll be hospitals that order it before that, and it's got like an 18 month life, you know. So basically they can order a few and stick them in the fridge, and then basically when the surgeries come up, they've got them there. So you have to be mindful that there are surgeons that throughout the US that have used this product before, and they know the product really well. So regardless of what people are saying, there are already surgeons that are already embracing this. There are hospitals that will start embracing it, and then that's also going to generate further data, and then that's also going to change what labeling the FDA has already put on. So you got to remember, things can change as well. So as much as you look at the current situation, you go, the labeling isn't perfect, there's some warnings that don't sound great, but you also have to remember that surgeons are looking at this, they're looking at the data, and then they're also looking at the labeling. Obviously they have to communicate this to the patient as well, but you know, they're going to be putting it in a way that obviously won't seem as bad as initially as investors will look at it. Particularly, as I explained before, if they're talking to a patient and going, would you rather reduce the amputation rate by this much but have the possible side effect of blood clots or something like that, of course the patient's going to go for the potential side effects. Like, even though side effects don't sound great, anything's better than amputation at the end of the day. And there's also going to be many situations that are going to arise where Symvess is basically going to be the go-to product when time is the issue, or when there's no chance that they can get a a vein to use. Like there is a good market opportunity. Like I think the market just hasn't, like in general, like we're not medical experts, so we're not best placed to understand how useful this could be. But you go through the presentations, you look at all the benefits and the stats, and you just have to let it kind of do its own work. Like this is a pretty revolutionary product, and like I don't think you want to take too much notice of the negative opinions. There's obviously a need. Like FDA always considers that it has to have quite a large benefit before they would approve this. So yeah, like I think you just have to give it time. Like there's no like sugarcoating things. Like obviously the share price isn't great. People have sold down. There's a lot of people shorting, but I think you give it time. Either the stock just heads up naturally by itself over time, or we're waiting on a really positive announcement, particularly from management. Like we never know what kind of deals are in the works, and also their product is like they can start selling this overseas in the future as well. So it's not a limited product that they just sell in the US. So don't think of the market being that limited as well. So there's a longer term future. Obviously everyone's looking at the short term right now, being the share price is not being that great, the financials are being quite tight, and there's a lot of fear. But don't let the fear get to you. Don't sell for pennies. Like obviously you don't want to sell when they've just done the biggest breakthrough of getting an FDA approval. Sell when the stock's actually trading at a reasonable valuation. Obviously that's my opinion. Like there's so many different views, hence why the stock may not be trading as highly, but in my view I think the stock it's definitely worth more than that, and there's a lot more higher potential going forward, particularly next year. So I think you just have to give it time, particularly if you're a holder of the stock. Like it's worth giving it more time. I think you want to at least stay till when they get commercial. Like if the stock still isn't performing once they go commercial with the product, once they've got the labeling all sorted with the FDA, then maybe you might feel a little jittery. But like until you've seen the sales and heard more from management, I don't think it's worth just jumping the boat. You've waited too long, and the stock's just starting to perform, especially like with shorts. Like once shorts realize that they've got more to lose than to gain, they're off. So once shorts recover, once they're gone, you need to get rid of them entirely, but once you get rid of majority of those, then the stock could start looking a lot more positive. And also with those analysts kind of upgrading the stock, over time it's going to filter through, and they're going to have more buyers of this stock in the future as well. So at the end of the day, I think it's just give it patience. Like I can't emphasize that even anymore. Like it's all patience. If you got any questions, comments, post them below, and good luck investing, everyone.